Hi, good morning, everyone. And Darius, thank you for the introduction. I can either share my screen or Daniel, I just sent the presentation over to you all. So whatever you prefer, just let me know.
We will work on giving you screen sharing access here.
Okay, thank you.
While we're working on that, I just wanted to very quickly share that Jeremy so kindly put the link to today's conference schedule here in the chat. It has all the details that I just shared, so that way you can view it on your own screen.
So, is everyone able to see my screen now? Okay, great. Thank you. Gotta love technology. So again, good morning. It really is a pleasure to be here with you all at today's conference. My name is Jacqueline Hollins. I currently serve as the Interim Vice Provost for Inclusive Excellence. And also in this role, I have the privilege to serve as a member of the SUNY Chief Diversity Officers Network. And prior to stepping into this interim position for the campus, I served as the Unit Diversity Officer and Senior Executive Director for Student Success and Academic Support within the Division of Academic Affairs. So during our time together this morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about our President's Advisory Council on Race. And I'm having a little bit of trouble advancing my screen, so just bear with me there. Okay. So President Tripathi convened the President's Advisory Council on Race, or PACOR as we call it here at UB, to guide the university's collective conversations and actions regarding racism and systemic inequality to ensure that UB is equitable in its policies, programs, activities, and traditions. So that's a broad overview of why the President's Advisory Council on Race was established. So in June 2020 is when the work began. And at that point, there was a council that was convened, and there was representation from across the campus, diverse representation from different departments, as well as our colleagues from various schools and academic support units. Over the past 2.5 years, as you can see, the UB community has been actively engaged with PACOR. I want to point out that our campus leadership recognizes the importance of transparency and accountability, and we have taken steps to ensure we are open with our communications and we are continuously reviewing and monitoring our progress. So for example, I believe the process has been transparent as students, staff, and faculty have been kept abreast of key findings and recommendations via campus-wide town halls, as well as the robust PACOR website. In addition, feedback from the campus community has been encouraged, welcomed, and considered. And in relation to accountability, Provost Weber has assigned specific units to review and implement recommendations. And he is committed to conducting an annual town hall to report on our progress. Our most recent town hall was hosted in November 2022. So this timeline here again just gives you an idea of the work that has been taking place, and I'll speak a little bit more on these areas when I go to the next screen and show you our structure. So this is the structure that has been put in place, again, to ensure that we are continuously thinking about what we need to be doing and that we have checks and balances in place, and that, again, the campus leadership is continuously making sure that we are moving the university in the direction that we are continuously thinking about our policies and procedures and how they impact everyone, and particularly how they impact our underrepresented faculty, staff, and students. So as mentioned, the initial council was convened in June of 2020. And in March of 2021, the council presented their significant findings related to 4 key areas. And those areas were related to 1, faculty and staff recruitment, hiring, and retention; 2, student recruitment and retention; 3, curriculum and teaching; and 4, community, meaning the broader campus community, as well as how we might engage with the Western New York area. And in building upon the council's report, in summer 2021, an implementation committee was established. And that implementation committee consisted of 7 subcommittees. Each subcommittee was led by co-chairs, so there were 2 individuals. And again, we each had a unique charge. There was diverse membership from all of our schools, departments, and units across campus. And we were dedicated to devising both short and long-term actionable recommendations. So from late summer 2021 through fall of 2021, the subcommittees worked diligently on our respective charges. And as you can see across the bottom of the screen, these were the 7 subcommittees that were created. So again, they really just built upon the initial findings and groupings from that council that was established in June of 2020. So the subcommittees were faculty recruitment, mentoring, and retention; scholarship tenure and recognition; staff recruitment, mentoring, and advancement; curriculum and pedagogy; the student experience and programs; inclusive spaces; as well as community engagement. The steering committee was also established, and that steering committee helped to guide the work of the subcommittees and ultimately synthesize all of the recommendations. I would like to point out and acknowledge that the steering committee was led by co-chairs Suzanne Rosenblith, who is the Dean of the Graduate School of Education, and Mark Allnut, who is our Vice President and Director of Athletics. The co-chairs of all of the 7 subcommittees also served on the steering committee. And another thing that was really important is that we did have guidance from both an undergraduate student advisory committee and a graduate student advisory committee. So again, our work with the President's Advisory Council on Race has truly been a representation of the voices of staff, students, and faculty from across the campus, and that is really important. The steering committee reported to the provost, and so we did meet throughout the process, and ultimately we made our final recommendations to the president and the provost. And those recommendations included clear and actionable implementation plans to achieve, again, the short and long-term goals. And also responsibility was assigned for each of those recommendations so that it was clear who on campus should be working on the different aspects. And oftentimes it is a collaborative approach across units or across schools. And in spring 2022, our final recommendations were presented to the UB community via a series of town halls. During the town halls, attendees were able to ask questions and offer suggestions. And in addition, the presentations were uploaded to the PACOR website, so all members of the UB community were able to provide feedback directly via the website. I would like to mention that I had the privilege to serve as the co-chair of the Staff Recruitment, Mentoring, and Advancement Committee, and my co-chair was Mark Poldren, who was our former VP for Human Resources. So I know that our time here this morning is limited, and I do want to allow opportunities for questions. So I'm just going to highlight a few of the subcommittees and some examples of their recommendations. So in relation to faculty recruitment, mentoring, and retention, some of the recommendations included establishing and prioritizing cluster hires of underrepresented faculty across related disciplines over a period of time. So for example, perhaps 3 years. And the purpose of that is to develop a cohort and community of scholars. Oftentimes, individuals from underrepresented backgrounds, be it faculty or staff, if you come in and you're the only one in your department, that could create a sense of isolation. So the idea of the cluster hires, again, what build community among the scholars, either within their department or if they were hired across departments. Also, to establish a program that provides opportunities for leadership development and career strengthening options for established underrepresented faculty, and to create UB internal research funding opportunities and tailored support for external funding applications with focus on scholarship, research, and creative expression that is of broader interest to underrepresented faculty members. Relative to scholarship, tenure, and recognition, some of the recommendations included that tenure and promotion materials should address contributions to advancing racial equity and social justice to assure accountability for advancing UB's goals, to better recognize and support civic engagement and service activities in tenure and promotion, because again, oftentimes individuals from underrepresented backgrounds are actively engaged in those types of activities. And another recommendation was to require each unit to develop policies of accountability and training to prevent abuse of power and bias at the department, school, and university level in relation to faculty tenure and promotion, and also recognition. Next, in relation to curriculum and pedagogy, some of those recommendations from that committee included to modify course and curriculum, the course and curriculum review process to support intentional consideration of diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism, to develop recommendations regarding inclusive and anti-racist syllabi in collaboration with shared governance across campus, and also to provide training on inclusive mentoring of students. And with that, it is certainly, if you are a faculty member and perhaps, you're working with students from underrepresented backgrounds, just understanding some of the needs that students may have. Again, students certainly are not all the same, but just recognizing where students are coming from and some of the supports that they may need. So that mentoring relationship we all know between faculty and students is really important, and it helps with our retention of students. So again, there were 7 subcommittees. I just wanted to highlight 3 of the subcommittees and some of the recommendations that was made from each of the subcommittees. So this information I pulled, this is a screenshot directly from the PACOR website. And this particular part of the website is available to the public. I really encourage certainly my UB colleagues and all of our colleagues that are here from other campuses as well to visit this site. So this is the screenshot from our faculty recruitment, mentoring, and retention subcommittee. So on here, you'll see the executive leadership would also always be the provost, but you'll see that the unit leadership. So this is again, how the recommendations were assigned. So basically our vice provost for faculty affairs, working along with our deans would be looking at these recommendations and working collaboratively to ensure that we are making progress and that we have the processes in place for us to continue this great work and to really consider the recommendations that have been made from each of the subcommittees. I also would like to give a recognition. So one of the things, again, in helping us to recruit underrepresented faculty, it is looking at some of the programs that we currently have on campus or to create new initiatives. And so my predecessor, Desmond Strategakis, she created the university's Visiting Future Faculty, or our VITAL program. And this is an opportunity for scholars who are ABD from across the country to come to the university at Buffalo and share their research, to create a network amongst themselves, but also with the university community, to get feedback on their research and Our goal is certainly is that, if appropriate, that we would be able to extend offers to some of the scholars. But more importantly, we look at these scholars as ambassadors for the university at Buffalo. We had our first cohort of Vital Scholars in spring 2022, and then we had our second cohort in fall of 2022. And I really appreciated this quote from one of our scholars who was here in the fall, where they said, "I think I can speak for all the Vital Scholars when I say this week was probably one of the top events we will have during our doctoral careers." And I'm so thankful that I was able to participate. So again, I think that it is awesome that the University at Buffalo is able to bring in underrepresented scholars from all disciplines. We had 7 of our schools participate, and we housed the scholars here for 4 days. They not only got to visit the UB campuses, they had an opportunity to receive a tour from former faculty member Al Price, who's part of the School of Architecture and Planning, and to learn about the Buffalo community. And I'm really pleased to say that the scholars are still actively engaged with us, and will continue to bring in scholars. So our next cohort will be here in fall of 2023. And this is just another example. So this is our tracking process for our curriculum and pedagogy committee. Again, this is just the first 3 of the recommendations that you see here, but I thought it would be good for individuals to see just how to navigate to get to the tracking tables. And certainly if anyone ever has any questions about how to get here, you certainly can reach out to me personally. So again, this is a way that we are being transparent, and a way that we are being accountable. I can personally speak as one of the co-chairs that was something that was really important to me, that we had so many colleagues across campus working on identifying, ways that we can review our policies and practices, and just very creative ideas on how we can address any issues related to inequity or bias, prejudice, discrimination. And so it's certainly one of I would say one of the most rewarding committees and task force that I've had an opportunity to participate on, and just to see how we are being very transparent across campus. And so in closing, we certainly realize that this critical work will be ongoing. There will always be room to improve, and we must continue to ensure that UB is equitable in our policies, our programs, our activities, and traditions. To do so, we must all be willing to create safe spaces and engage in conversations in a respectful manner. We must approach trainings and workshops with an open mind, and recognize that we can always learn something new, and value the differences of opinions. We must also understand that sometimes conversations will be uncomfortable, so we need to practice compassion and grace. So thank you for allowing me to share the space with you today. I hope you have an enjoyable conference experience, and I look forward to any questions that you may have or feedback that you have. So thank you again for this opportunity. I really appreciate sharing time with you this morning.
Thanks, Jackie. And thank you so much for that overview and just walking us through, especially the structure of all the different committees, as well as just the overall goal of the President's Advisory Council on Race. Daniel Kelly wrote in the chat, are there any lessons from PACOR that you think might potentially translate particularly well to other institutions / for those external folks who might be doing similar work on their own campus?
Thank you for the question, Daniel. And I believe that, yes, I think that our president and our provost was very intentional and not afraid to recognize that this is something that our campus needed to really dig deep into. I believe the way the initial council was structured, and it was very clear we're going to talk about race And that was something that we needed to do, in that we had that representation from across campus. So that's going to really be important. Who's selected to serve as co-chairs, who is around the table. And from there, the initial findings of the council, we had a town hall where people were allowed to participate, to offer suggestions. And I can honestly say, as we move from that phase, and okay, so now we're going to have all these subcommittees, that just being able to serve on the subcommittee and to get feedback from the campus and to take that into consideration. And we did, we came up with our recommendations, and as we all were getting feedback, we never thought of that. So again, there is just this appreciation for the diversity of opinions. So I think having that type of model has been really great, and having the opportunity again for town halls, for people to participate that way, or for people to share, if they wanted to anonymously on a website, for us to be able to collect that information and just to continue to keep the campus abreast of what we're doing. So yes. So thank you. I know I'm watching the time, so I know I think we were supposed to end at 9:05. So again, I apologize for the technology glitches in the beginning.
So we actually, Jackie, scheduled some about 10 minutes after 9:05 for you to answer the questions.
Okay.
So you can't leave us that easily today.
Okay. Oh, no, it's okay. I always want to be mindful of people's time. So yeah.
Are there any other questions from any participants? What I would like for us to do is, if you have a question, if you could please either throw it in the chat, or there is a raise hand feature. If you were to click on reactions, immediately right above that is raise hand. So click on reactions and then raise hand, and then that'll show us that you would like to ask your question directly. Are there any questions for Jackie at this time right now? I actually have a question, Jackie, if you don't mind entertaining a question for me. So in the final report, and I'll read directly from the letter from Dr. Tripathi, that says, "Dear university community, nearly 2 years ago, at a time of intense strife across our country, the President's Advisory Council on Race was formed to ensure that UB is equitable in its practices, programs, activities, and traditions." And then further down in that letter, it says, "The importance of our collective work cannot be overstated. Together, we have seen in our own Buffalo community how racial hatred and white supremacy have destroyed lives, created uncertainty, fear, anguish. At UB, we work to make meaningful change within the context of our mission, and that is what the committee has sought to do." Jackie, you being the interim provost in this position, how and also just your career here at the university, and working in the work that you do, how much seriousness should we pay to this? And I know the politically correct answer might be yes, but there's so many other priorities in our work. How do we, can DEI really be integrated into everything that we do, or is this something where it has to compete and we have to make room for this? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Personally, I believe that DEI should be, part of our work. Certainly the President's Advisory Council on Race specifically talked about, race. And so we're looking at underrepresented faculty, staff, students. But we all know that DEI is much broader than that. And so I believe that, all of our lives will be enriched by that diversity of opinion, of thought. And so in order for us, honestly, to be able to recruit students and faculty and staff, it is really something that we have to pay attention to, and really all campuses, all institutions need to pay attention to. So again, for my UB colleagues, if you have not been involved in any of the town halls, if you have not taken time to review the PACOR website, I really encourage you to do so and think about, from your own perspective and your unique experiences, how can you contribute? How can you even do something at your unit level, at the department level? because there is so much opportunity for involvement and for those voices. And I believe that, again, this is something that the campus is truly committed to. What I am seeing certainly is, people are looking at policies, people are looking at procedures. And so we really are, I think, really pausing and thinking about that. And training is certainly important as well. And I know that, sometimes people are very begrudging to attend a workshop or a session, but that's how we learn and how we grow. And sometimes we may have to mandate, policies first. But again, I think at the end of the day, that will just help us be a much richer and welcoming campus. So.
Thank you for that, Jackie. Another question came in the chat that I just asked for a little more explanation on, but it says, how does this align with the budget planning process? Meaning, and Kathleen just messaged me to expound on it. Does the budget align with these efforts? Meaning, is there resources going towards, making sure these things happen?
Yes, Kathleen, thank you for that question. And absolutely, there are resources. So when the subcommittees, when we were given our charge, first of all, we were asked to think boldly and creatively. And we were asked to include, human resources, financial resources, and during the budget process. So, we have our annual budget process. Deans, department heads, leaders, we have been asked to think about the PACOR recommendations, our, initiatives and our commitment to DEI, and to ask for funding. And I can say that, again, I know from sitting in those cabinet meetings that there definitely is a commitment to fund the initiatives that will support this effort. So certainly everything can't be funded, but I know that there has been significant contributions.
So the resources are there for many of the things that are being asked to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes left, or actually 2 minutes left.
Okay.
A great question by my co-MC. We have a number of participants from across the country with us today, and many areas of our country are reluctant to act on or even actively hostile towards initiatives like this. And Jackie, you and I had a conversation the other day about some areas that are like that. Do you have any thoughts on lessons they can take away from UV's doing, or how they might want to approach establishing these sorts of initiatives in these hostile areas?
Yeah, that is a great question. And so, first and foremost, I certainly want someone, doing something that, would risk their employment. I'll put that on the line. But again, I think that you just really have to look internally, at yourself. And if you are, especially if you're in a position where you're a supervisor, or where you have that opportunity where you are hiring candidates. And I believe that there is that opportunity that as you are, let's just say you're recruiting candidates and you're thinking about, well, how do I prepare the job description? How do I list out qualifications in a way that I can get, candidates from a diverse background? How am I networking? So I think, there are some small things that we can do, particularly if you are in a environment where you're being told, well, CRT isn't real, or, we can't focus on just hires for underrepresented, individuals. Like I recently found out that the NHL, they wanted to have a recruitment activity that was just for underrepresented individuals. And I don't remember exactly where it was at, but basically that was shut down. So it's absent of being able to do those things. What are some things that you can just do personally, particularly, with recruitment? How do you learn on your own? And then how do you maybe have those conversations with other colleagues, again, in a safe way? So.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for joining us today. I think everyone here joins me in recognizing the incredible work that you're leading here at the university, but also just the amazing perspective that you have on this area. So If everyone could join me in thanking Jackie for coming with us today and being able to lead us through this discussion on the implementation of the President's Advisory Council on Race. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you all. Have a great conference.